Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for joining me in this virtual session of the EDULEARN 2022 conference based in Palma de Mallorca. So I am Emilia Margoni, and I'm a member of the Associazione Giovanile Le Scie Fisiche. And today I will be presenting a project that has been carried out so far with this association. So the title of this presentation is GRaffa, a scientific communication project by young researchers for very young people. And we want to thank the organizers for accepting our abstract and our contribution to this very interesting international conference. So here's a short abstract of what we will be discussing about in this presentation. So GRaffa is a project designed and carried out by the Associazione Giovanile Le Scie Fisiche, funded by the Regione Lazio. It was conceived by young physics and philosophy researchers, mainly PhD students and postdoc students, to spread physics and more generally scientific culture by using a simple and fun language dedicated to the general public and especially to school students. So the main goal of the activities realized within the project is to show that physics is not just the study of distant galaxies, particle accelerators, or complex mathematical formulas. We want to state that when we use the phone or ask ourselves what is the right moment to salt water to make pasta, we are already doing science. And so to this end, several activities have been planned and realized. Here, we will present the results achieved with the GRaffa, showing the online and in-situ performed activities. And our main point will be to argue that by providing an intuitive understanding of physics, namely an understanding that is able to convey the role that physics and science in general play in our everyday lives, so within very familiar contexts, more and more students will be encouraged to pursue careers in the context of STEM subjects and research areas. So here's a short overview of what we will be discussing about. So after a short introduction, I will provide the manifesto for the GRaffa project, and then we will go through the GRaffa activities, which are divided in these 5 sections, namely educational science workshops and lessons on modern physics in schools, production of scientific video appeals and opening of a YouTube channel, participation in public outreach events and science festivals, the scientific column on our social platforms, and the participation to an international conference. And then I will draw some conclusions. So a common view has it that scientific disciplines in general and hard sciences in particular, such as mathematics, physics, chemistry, and engineering, involve higher levels of complexity and thus require top-level skills, notable IQs, strong familiarity with most up-to-date technologies and informatic tools. And the result is that approaching science quite often generates an allergic reaction. And so this cultural bias permeates the social understanding of science and is frequently encountered among young students. So in this respect, many students are hostile to scientific proposals precisely because the latter are taken as too complicated. Needless to say, this biased understanding of scientific enterprise intersects with many other stereotypes that still beset our society, such as the presumed superiority of male students with respect to female ones when it comes to evaluate their scientific abilities. And we believe that those 2 prejudices, namely that scientific subjects are available just to a minority of the population, and that this minority is more likely to be of male type, make a spontaneous approach to scientific disciplines quite difficult. So we think that scientific dissemination work is essential, especially within schools. So the GRaffa project, which was designed and carried out by the Associazione Giovanile Le Scie Fisiche, was developed also to address these types of issues. So to this end, several activities have been planned and realized, and in particular, a scientific column on social networks and everyday life science and curiosities, a YouTube channel with pop and shorts video appeals, discussions and hands-on laboratories in schools, popular talks, scientific laboratories for general public during popular events such as the European Researchers' Nights. So here's the group. This is the composition of our group. There is Raffaella Dogna, who is the president of the association, and then we have Eleonora Diociaiuti, Salvatore Macis, Emilia Margoni, Laura Rubino, Elena Patrignanelli, Matteo Giovannetti, and Matteo Petrassi. So the GRaffa project, as I said, was designed by a group of young researchers within the context of the Lazio region, which is a region that displays the highest density in Italy of research centers, universities, and researchers. But at the same time, this region shows a high school dropout rates. And so according to the MUR, which is the Italian Ministry of Education data, 3.5% of young people in our region do not finish high school. And this is one problem. And the other problem is that connected to STEM subjects. So in the last decade, the demand for people trained in STEM, namely science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, has increased exponentially. And the 2018 Alma Laurea report, which is a consortium, an Italian consortium funded in 1994, which provides an analysis on the relationship between university courses and job positions. So this report says that 5 years after graduation, the employment rate is 89.3% overall, and we have a more plus for 4.1% compared to non-STEM graduates. And the salary of those who graduate in STEM subjects is on average 16.4% higher than non-STEM graduates. So the strategic importance of STEM disciplines is clear. And as such, it is extremely important from both a personal and economic point of view that these subjects become easily accessible to all, with the promotion that starts from the early phases of the educational system. So schools, in this respect, not only have to deal with the problem of school drops out, as we said, they also face difficulties in strengthening science education through initiatives aimed at stimulating children's interest beyond classical didactic science, and through, for instance, workshops or seminars. And the problem is also of economical nature. And this was particularly evident for the schools we contacted. So the fact that the proposed initiatives, the one we proposed, were free of charge to the users was fundamental for their implementation. And moreover, despite the important scientific tradition of the Roman era, in this territory, there is no space or institution specifically dedicated to the dissemination of scientific culture, such as a permanent science museum. So this condition reinforces the need for interventions. So here's a prospect of the GRaffa activities. As I said, GRaffa's main aim is to improve science outreach activities in the Lazio region, and our primary goal is to bring girls and boys closer to STEM subjects. At the same time, we strongly believe in the importance of strengthening scientific knowledge among adults as well. And so the project program was divided into 4 to 5 parts, depending on how you conceive the last one, which are all completely free of charge for beneficiaries. So the first part is that of the educational science workshops and lessons on modern physics in school. So we believe it is essential to start science education in an early stage, paying particular attention to the practical and experimental side. So following this line of learning by doing, we proposed science workshops for primary and secondary schools, simple experiences which allow young students to approach and learn the scientific method by stimulating their reasoning skills. For the secondary schools, we planned a series of seminars on modern physics to complement the teaching programs of individual classes. And these were easy to use lessons for students, ranging from what an elementary particle is to how instruments see it, as well as other areas of physical inquiry and beyond. The second part was that of the production of scientific video appeals and opening of a YouTube channel. So the purpose of the YouTube channel was twofold. It served as a support material for school teaching and to bring science closer to the general public. And so the aim of these videos is to explain in a simple, entertaining way, not only the important research that has revolutionized modern physics, but above all, the physical phenomena that we encounter in everyday life. And we also published a summary video for the science festivals we attended. And all the videos produced have been published on the project website and on a dedicated YouTube channel. So the third part is the participation in public outreach events and science festivals. So during the 12 months of the project, we participated in some events organized by our supporters, such as the educational workshops during the European Researchers' Night and the Christmas Science Village, organized by Frascati Scienza, a seminar on GRaffa methodologies to solve gender inequality in STEM during the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Also guided tours and educational workshops during the LNF Open Labs, the day in which the ENF largest laboratory is open to the public. Then as a fourth activity, we produced a scientific column on GRaffa Fa Cose, which is a page on both Instagram and Facebook. And so the entire project is based on scientific dissemination, informing and educating people on issues related to science. And at the same time, we think that social media are a very effective communication tool for young people. So this is why we chose to open also pages on these social platforms. So from an information point of view, the web can be a cauldron full of correct and reliable news, but also misinformation and a lot of fake news. So correct dissemination becomes necessary and a duty for us as researchers. So in this month, we've been disseminating content about science on a daily basis through a single weekly column on the website, of which you see some examples, Facebook and Instagram, entitled GRaffa. And we've written fun, short, and effective scientific explanations that are impactful for the audience. So readers themselves have had the opportunity to tell us what their curiosities were and interact with us to produce new posts. And then the last part, which is the one we're actually performing, was that of presenting our project to an international conference. So our final goal was presenting and sharing the experience gained from the project in a context, a broader context, and possibly followed by a publication in a peer-reviewed journal. And so we wanted to have the opportunity to discuss dissemination topics and methods with other experts, and so to get possibly some feedback from this precious audience. So here I just summarized some of the insights that we got from our social platforms to see how the impact can be evaluated of our initiatives and our social platforms in particular. So for what concerns the Facebook, the GRaffa platform on Facebook, this is the number of accounts reached, and we got an increase in post interactions, an increase in comments, as well as shares, and also a significant increase in terms of photos visualization. So all these data are a comparison with the last month with respect to the previous month. So it's 30 days comparison. This is from the Instagram account, GRaffa. So we got a slightly small increase of followers, but we got good interaction and a good number of accounts reached. And for what concerns our website, we got an increasing number of website tabs from our Facebook page, and we noticed that the website tabs from Instagram are significantly higher with respect to the previous month. So to sum up on the GRaffa project, and in particular on the impact, innovativeness, and follow-up perspectives of this project, who would concern the effectiveness of this project, we think that the aim and the purpose and what we have achieved during this year is that of building basic scientific knowledge and encouraging an approach to STEM subjects and the development of critical thinking. So for what concerns innovativeness, we have provided an example in terms of young and enthusiastic researchers which are out of the laboratory and are interested in sharing their knowledge and their experience. We have provided an approach to science from everyday experiences, both in seminars for schools and in content developed for the web. And this, we think, may narrow the gap between what happens in science and what happens in our everyday life. And the third innovative aspect of our project, our association as well, is the majority female composition of the GRaffa project. And then for what concern our follow-up perspectives, as I said, we developed a website in which to request information on seminars, workshops, and activities to be organized in collaboration with our cultural association. And of course, this web platform will have a future use as a way to providing reliable scientific content to children and general public, but also to create new networks both in Rome and in broader areas to keep on this project even after the end of the funding by our region, the Lazio region. So to conclude, I can say that after almost 1 year of activities, we believe that the Associazione Giovanile delle Scie Fisiche has obtained quite remarkable results. In particular, we have participated to scientific events such as the European Researchers' Night and the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, promoted scientific knowledge in a customized fashion in schools as well as social platforms, offered a positive example against gendered stereotypes, and also laid the foundations in the Lazio region for future science outreach activities. So thank you very much for joining me in this virtual session.